Now that we've allowed time for the glue to dry, we're going to remove all the clamps and get ready to trim the soundboard itself. And now we're going to remove the stick from the holder. We're going to loosen all of these little screws that hold the stick firmly in the jig, and we're going to loosen these top ones, which are actually holding as well. And now, if all is well here, it comes out of the jig. We're going to be using the jig to help us with the clamping in the future. I'm going to loosen up the little clamp here so that can come out, and there we are. There's our first look at the instrument. And now we're going to set up to take the excess wood off, just to make it a little bit easier to clamp in the future. And to do that, I'm going to put a little bit of a spacer and clamp it so that we don't put too much force on the joint itself. The joint is not fully strong yet. It will be, but it'll take a day. So in the meantime, we're just going to hold it a bit firmly and take some of the stress off. And then I will be sawing to trim up the soundboard. And now we're going to take and trim the upper soundboard, and to use that we'll use a little coping saw, and it's a very straightforward little saw that cuts rapidly. I'm going to cut down and use the edge of the wood as a guide. I'm trying to avoid cutting into the side or scratching the side too much, and so that it's really just a matter of taking the time to do it. And one piece is off, that'll later be dressed. Now we're going to go the opposite direction. And now we're going to readjust the piece so I can get at the top part, take my little protective plywood spacers and move them out of the way. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly cut exactly. We'll be trimming it later. So once again, we'll just cut it down. And once again, we'll have to reset and just take it out, and we're just going to now do the same thing on the other side here. Now that we're finished cutting the rough cut, then I will take a little rasp and just dress briefly, make it look a little bit neater. Now this really isn't going to do a lot right now. It's just to make the clamping of the back easier. So we'll just leave that as is and get ready to reposition and clamp it for the back. Now that we've rough cut the top, that makes it a little bit easier to glue, we're going to take it out again of the form, and we're going to put it back in the jig, which will allow me to hold the angle and allow it to get the proper angle for the end point. And to do that, we're going to have to do a little fiddling with these settings. So we're loosening all of the settings, and these little black drill guides will interfere with its moving upwards. So, and once they're all in, then we can get them back and put it back into the jig and give us a little bit of room. So what we're aiming for here is merely to control the angle and to make sure that we're having the top come up sufficiently. And now we're going to prepare I'm going to need to put a very slight spacer in the bottom to allow to fill a space. That's because this sides are slightly thicker than the bottom. And to do that, I'm just going to file this down slightly until they are at right angles to the stick. And that's good. Okay, now that we've filed the sides to get a blunt ending, I've put glue on this small chunk of hardwood. I'm going to put a little bit of green tape for a few minutes to allow it to set. The Titebond 2 sets very quickly. It's not fully solid, but it does set. And now that it's been about 5 to 10 minutes, the glue is set enough to stick the little spacer on. It is not fully glued, but it is firm enough to allow me to proceed to file the sides down to exactly match the height of the spacer. And now the spacer and the little sides are even. There's no gap between them. I'm now going to go quickly around with the file as we did before, and then with sandpaper to make sure that the sides actually are true and flat. And now I'm going to take and run some sandpaper and a sanding block around and make sure that there is no divots, no weakness, the edge is true. Feels true all the way around. There's nothing obvious. And I can proceed to glue the back on now. And the gluing is very much like the front. It's a matter of laying on the glue fairly thickly. It's once again tends to bead, so we just have to persist. Eventually it really does adhere very nicely to the wood, but it will bead initially. So we'll run it first and then go back over again and check it and smooth it and check it and smooth it. And so once again we're trying to make sure that the glue is evenly distributed across the wood and redistribute the little beads that tend to form with the glue from the glue's tension, surface tension, I presume. And again, I just make sure and doubly check so that these glue joints again will be visible when we're finished. So there's no hiding the joint, so everything is looking good now. I will get ready to put on the back. The back is made of oak, and this one has been glued into two pieces to give what was often called a book match back. And I will just align it and make sure that every piece, the overlap is roughly even, and make sure that I've got the front where I want it. And now, once again, we'll start to clamp. Generally have one large clamp that will connect right across both the jig and the back. Okay, I'm going to get the first clamp that generally locates, there we are, locates the glue. Okay, and we're going to, once again, clamp the back, make sure that it is solid and in good position, and again check the position around the edge, make sure that we've got it well covered. We will be trimming that similarly as we trim the soundboard in a few minutes. So right now we're going to start and put a number of clamps on to try and make sure that we've got get once again a nice good joint here. And it's just a matter of getting enough clamps on into position. And it's actually a little bit easier to clamp this side because you're clamping now onto the face, onto the soundboard, which is broad and takes the clamps very easily. Once again, make sure that it's clamped all the way around, and that's it for the gluing and clamping of the back. When the time after it's dried, we'll resume by trimming the back and starting on the sound hole and putting the mechanical tuners in place.